Move on to the front page of the Sunday Times. Our reviewers raised this morning. The headline is "Voters Cool on SNP After Trans Prisoner Crisis." It is just one poll. It suggests the party's popularity has fallen to a 5-year low. Talit, you picked up on this and got a bit beneath that surface, beneath the headlines a bit.
Yes, so the reality, of course, is that you've got to pay attention to what questions are asked in a poll. And this question wasn't asking about what are your views about trans inclusion, what are your views about a so-called debate that is filled with misinformation and heightened tension. It asked about popularity of different leaders, and yes, that shows that Nicola Sturgeon's popularity has slumped. It's at -4, which is still the most popular amongst leaders, but it's -4. But we're asking that question at a time of cost of living crisis, increasing poverty, NHS crisis, strikes across public sector, all of which have a disproportionate impact on women, all of which require the pages of debate and opinion as a direct issue about women's poverty should absolutely be included in that. And those would be logical assumptions to make about what has happened with this poll. But instead, what we're doing is we're linking it to the current issue around trans inclusion and the Gender Recognition Reform Act. And I think that's a real injustice to the type of dialogue that needs to exist here. And actually, later on in the Sunday Times, you've actually got Jim Sillars in the Sunday Times, which is a bit of a surprise in itself. But in it, he is talking about how the gender recognition reform is going to be the poll tax for Nicola Sturgeon. I don't believe that's the case. But I think that in particular, he says identity politics has no relevance to real people. You know what? I take real umbrage at that. That's a real problem for me, because for Jim Sillars, of course, it doesn't, because it's not about Jim Sillars' life. Identity politics is about minoritized communities. Identity politics is the language that we use to berate the politics that it makes a difference to black and brown communities, to migrant communities, to LGBT communities, and to women. That's what identity politics is about. And to say that it has no relevance to real people makes me question, what do you consider real people?